Buongiorno a tutti, good morning. Welcome to Monza for the opening race of the 2017 European Touring Car Cup. Cars are already on the grid on this beautiful sunny Sunday morning at the Cathedral of Speed that is the Autodromo Nazionale. Wherever you are, thank you for joining us for the first of two races here this morning, back-to-back, to get this championship underway. I'm Martin Haven, alongside me Matt Neal. Matt, bleary-eyed start this morning, nice early getaway for these guys. But the prospect of Monza on a Sunday morning is enough to get anybody out of bed, I think.
That's right, Martin. The romance of Monza never fails to disappoint, and as these guys are going to be a support act to World Touring Cars this weekend, it's one they can look up to and aspire to. So it's great to have the similar sort of cars that we're going to be seeing later on in the day.
Absolutely right. Now, let's take a look at what's happened to the European Touring Car Cup over the winter. Well, the class structure, which previously had 4 or 5 classes, has been radically revised. Essentially, what we're trying to produce is a single class ladder. Now, the cars at the front of the grid are the 2 Rickley Motorsport Hondas for team boss Peter Rickley, the veteran Swiss, and his young teammate Christian Schreiber. The rest of the field are all running to TCR regulations. The cars at the front, the 2 Hondas, are running to TCN2 category. Slightly different, but they've been balanced out. So Peter Fulin, last year's championship runner-up, heads up the Seat Leon fleet. Return to the series for Plamen Kralev. Now, Kralev has run in all sorts of different categories over the years. Last raced in the European Touring Car Championship in 2014. He's raced at Le Mans and various prototypes and GT races, as well as saloon car racing. So he returns. He's got an Audi A3, RS3 in fact. So he is the sole standout. However, and we probably ought to whisper this, all the TCR cars from the VAG group, so that's Seat, Audi and Volkswagen, built by Jaime Pucci's boys at Seat Sport and all serviced here by them as well. You'll see the familiar grey and green colours that we'll see in the World Touring Car Championship of Zoltan Zengo's eponymous team. Zengo Motorsport have 3 cars entered here, but unfortunately for Annette Georgi, their lady racer, there was an issue with the compliance of the fuel tank in her car. Again, which is odd because they are all supplied by Seat Sport, but for some reason it doesn't appear to be up to current specification, and so she, unfortunately, having practiced, does not get a chance to race here this weekend. But a couple of rookies in the field, including Zsolt Szabo, who's the better placed of the 2 Zengo cars on the grid, and we have a couple of returning drivers as well. The best in last year's championship, as I said, Peter Fulin, who lines up 3rd on the grid in his grey Seat, and he is the man who wound out just the narrow runner-up in the championship to Chris Richard. Richard was racing for Peter Rickley's team. He had a 3-car operation last year. Chris Richard claimed the title and has moved on to pastures new. So that leaves Peter Rickley as ever, and his young teammate Christian Schreiber in car number 91. You can tell the difference, Matt and everybody else, because Rickley, as you can see, has got Motorex green mirrors, and Christian Schreiber does not.
Yeah, it's a little hard to pick out in this morning's shadows, but I'm sure as the sun rises a little bit as the race carries on, we'll get a better view.
And Zsolt David Szabo in the number 66 grey and green car. He too has green mirrors. And Norbert Nudge, no relation to Daniel Nudge in the World Touring Car field, he has got grey mirrors. So the sole red and black car is the Audi. You can see weaving there through the centre of the field.
Now, Martin, just to clarify, is the TC, you're on about the Hondas to TCN2 homologation and the others to TCR?
Correct.
Isn't it one and the same? It's just a case of homologation is different.
It's the Honda is an older car. It's not the current Civic, as I understand it. So it's a sort of, yes, but it's not a brand new Yas TCR car. It's what's the word? Grandfathered in. As a pre-existing car.
Because Yas have actually built 53 of those now, which is an amazing number. And off around the world, there we get a picture of the old banking. too sure how these modern cars would survive or how long they'd survive going around there.
I think the cars would fare better than the driver's nerves, to be honest. I mean, it's not, you know, a flat track at an angle. It's a parabola, so it's a dish. So the further you go up, the steeper it gets, because of course, as you go further outside the banking, towards the top, you don't want to be shooting off.
It's like
but also
any driver who's been around Millbrook or Myra's banking, it's incredibly bumpy.
Yeah.
Incredibly bumpy.
And that's largely because of the speed you're doing. You know, the hands-off lane at Millbrook, what's the top speed on that? 160 or something?
Yeah, and the car's compressed on the suspension.
Yeah.
The banking.
Cars gradually coming to the grid. There's the Audi of Plamen Kralev, the Bulgarian, starting on the wrong side of the road and then heading to his grid spot. He lines up in sixth position on our grid. There's Norbert Nagy just in front of him. Pole position man on the right-hand side for the first race of the European Touring Car Cup season is Peter Rickley. And his young teammate alongside him, Christian Hannes Schreiber, has never raced in Monza before, so qualifying one thing, racing entirely another. Red lights are on and the season gets underway here in Monza, but not for Zsolt Szabo or for Norbert Nagy. Both Zengo Motorsport cars left on the grid. So it is 1-2 for the Rickley Hondas. Christian Hannes Schreiber with the red mirrors in second place. Peter Rickley leads from last year's championship runner-up Peter Foulin in the grey Seat Leon. Then the red car with the black sides. That is the Audi of Plamen Kralev. The white car with the day-glow highlights is Igor Stefanovski, man from Macedonia, running his own team that he set up in Macedonia this year. White car with the black bonnet, Andreas Pfister, he too running his own Pfister Motorsport team. He's a real stalwart of the European Touring Car Cup, but it couldn't have gone worse for Zoltan Zengo's men, basically left on the grid. Matt, what a horrible start to the season. Surely it can only get better.
Oh, a heinous start for the two Zengo Motorsport cars, but you know, it's the one thing about Monza with the slipstreaming, you know, it is possible to make places. So it's as this pans out. Oh, Krev just going wide there.
Kralev runs out wide, loses fourth place to Igor Stefanovski.
Yeah, it is possible. If you get in the slipstreams, you can make good progress and get your way forward. Unlike the last WTC race at Marrakesh, where it was, you know, it's a street circuit, it's very difficult indeed.
You can already see that Daniel Nagy has moved 2 or 3 places up the order in the first of the lime green machines, and he has latched onto the back of Fabian Motta. Fabian Motta, 37, the Portuguese driver, last year a rookie in the championship, returning for a second bite of the cherry, and he raced a Seat last year. Look at Peter Foulin pulling out of the slipstream. Not quite sure that he really thought he was close enough to Christian Hannes Schreiber to make any sort of a pass there, but he's sitting in the slipstream mat and maybe down to the first chicane. He's well placed, he needs to try and make the move as late as he can, so he's not in air on his own.
Yeah, the Seat is very well placed there. I mean, one of the strengths of the Honda, it is the straight line speed of it. It is a mixed formula, a BOP, balance of performance formula, but the Seat is pulling well on him. He's holding on to him.
Yeah, looking down the inside, sending it late. Gets out of the slipstream. Christian Hannes Schreiber has the apex of the second part of the corner. Oh! And Stefanovski missed his braking in fourth place, went straight over all those really high ridge curbs.
I always said you couldn't go too wide, Byron, there, and then just proved me wrong.
Stefanovski, the white car, just hung on there over Plamen Kralev. Kralev, the Audi driver, losing grip. Last time Stefanovski rather was in Italy, was at Imola, last year's season finale. Yeah, Kralev got by him. And last year, Stefanovski claimed his first European Touring Car win in Imola. So a 34-year-old from Macedonia looking to try and recreate that here. There's Fabian Motta right behind him, Norbert Nagy. Again, look from the other side, Peter Foulin down the inside. Both drivers fully committed, Matt.
Yeah, Schreiber just holds him out. I didn't think that was possible, but then he has the inside for the flick back and manages to keep it a Honda 1-2.
Plamen Kralev on the Audi, in the Audi, going the long way around the outside to try and hold off Igor Stefanovski. Flash of the headlights from Stefanovski as they come under the banking into the Variante Ascari, and Fabian Motta defending on the inside in the black and yellow car against Norbert Nagy. Stefanovski likes the curbs, doesn't he?
He's in a hurry. What he can do, he can see the leading trio getting away, and he wants to make hay. The Audi RS3 is one of the newest cars on the block of this type spec, so whether he's learning the car, still getting used to it, it should be there and thereabouts.
Yeah. Fabio Motta, black and yellow, hanging on in front of Norbert Nudge. That's the battle for 7th place.
Oh, Nudge cuts nicely up the inside there.
Yeah. Sold him the defence on the outside and cut back underneath him, didn't he? That's good racing as well. Andreas Pfister, the white car with the blue highlights, is just pulling away from them. So the top 3, then there's a 4-car battle for 4th, and then you can see side by side. Nudge still on the inside. I'm still here, still here, still here. And finally he gets through ahead of Fabio Motta. And these two are tripping over each other. Kralev in the Audi and Stefanovski in the white Seat behind, and Andreas Pfister has closed in hand over fist. See what I did there?
Stefanovski's gone from the attack to the defence now. He looks to be in a real big hurry, but he's got to keep his eyes on his mirror because he'll be having to be slipstreamed himself.
Yeah, Stefanovski, the meat in the sandwich now. Daniel Nudge just ahead of Fabio Motta. And in fact, the other of the Zengo Hondas, Zengo Seats, force of habit there, Zoltan Szabo has shaken off the battle with Mladen Laluzic. So Laluzic at the back. Now Szabo is trying to close on this group. Peter Foulin being dropped by the Hondas. You just saw the 3rd place man. He's about a second behind now.
Well, Martin, I thought he was hanging on to them pretty well because the gap in qualifying was fairly dramatic. It was the Hondas were a good second lap clear.
Yeah.
Now, whether they're pacing themselves, just trying to look after the tyres, because the thing about Monza, it can be a tyre killer. You know, you've got these long straights riding on that inside shoulder and, you know, hitting the curbs, those sleeping policemen we see on the curbs. It can be a tyre killer, and it will get them the last couple of laps.
Yeah. In this group, which is now 5 strong with Fabio Motta on the back and soon going to be 6 strong, I'm not sure any of these guys are going to have any tyre left, and some of them might not have much suspension left either, the way they're attacking the curbs. Yes, I'm looking at you, Igor Stefanovski. The number 14 car has been over just about every curb in the place. Here comes Daniel Nudge. Look at Andreas Pfister move far right. In fact, exceeding track limits. Let's not go there. Defending hard on the inside, but Nudge has got ahead of steam.
And Nudge has got in the slipstream of the others, so he could just work for him.
Yeah, Pfister hanging himself out to dry. He's got the inside line, but it's not enough.
Work.
So
Nice
Norbert,
move from Nudge.
yeah, Norbert Nudge picks off 2 cars in 2 laps, and he now closes on the battle for 4th in front of him. Oh, don't do that.
Oh, we saw him coming as well.
Yeah. Fantastic action in this battle for 4th place. Matt, look what it's done for the Audi. He's just crept, what, 2 or 3 car lengths away ahead of Igor Stefanovski. But Daniel Nudge is the man on the move. He qualified strongly. He was 4th on the grid, 5th on the grid. But he's got really good race pace and good race craft, and that's what makes the difference.
Yeah, but Nudge is on the move. Now Stefanovski is... If these two work together, both Seats, they could draw up behind the Audi and get him under some pressure, because it's the old adage, 2 will go, or 3 or 4 will go faster than 1. And Kralev is out on his own at the moment.
A little bit, but Daniel Nudge has got the pace of all these Seats. Behind you can see Fabio Motta again, defending from Zoltan Szabo. And the Hungarian goes the long way round the outside. So Peter Rickley, the race leader, by a second from Christian Schreiber, and you sense that Schreiber is just sitting there with his teammate, slipstreaming together. They're working their way clear of Peter Foulin, and it'll come down to the last lap. A guarantee on the last lap, young Schreiber will have a stab for the lead, but only once they are in a position where they can get a team 1-2. No manufacturer involvement here. You just choose your car, run it yourself. But I think the two Hondas are going to break free of Peter Foulin and then have a go at each other. Past the midpoint, as we get down to Ascari of this opening race in the European Touring Car Cup, you're looking at Plamen Kraljev, the Bulgarian, in his red and black Audi, ahead of Macedonia's Igor Stefanovski, Hungary's Norbert Nagy, and behind him Austria's Andreas Pfister. Then another Hungarian car, the grey and green second machine of Zoltán Szabó, ahead of the black and yellow car of Portugal's Fabian Motta. And this is the battle for fifth. All these cars essentially are in the queue behind the Audi, and Matt, they're gradually creeping up. Now the guys behind Kraljev, 44, have stopped battling each other. They're just hoovering their way back up to him in the slipstream.
Yeah, Norbert Nagy finding it going a little bit tougher as he's moved up the field, but these cars using all the track and some. We just saw some a black and white flag for Pfister,
yeah,
for track limits, but it seems, if anyone's confused, the one place they're watching track limits is at the Parabolica, the curve of Parabolica. So out of Lesmo 2, the Variante Ascari is, well...
Although yesterday they didn't worry that much about it. Norbert Nagy trying to pull out, and we've just been told that there's been a black and white flag for car 7 for exceeding track limits, and that is Andreas Pfister, the white car with the blue highlights, but a drive-through penalty for Plamen Kraljev in the Audi. Now, we saw him stopping here on the grid and then wheel spinning his way further forward down to his grid position. You're allowed to do practice starts in a nominated box at pit exit and nowhere else. So he is going to get a drive-through penalty. So effectively, he is out of this battle. He is no longer fourth, or he won't be by the time he goes into the pits.
Well, that's a shame, because this was hotting up nicely, and I actually hope he doesn't see the flag. And
well, it's his own stupid fault, I'm afraid.
It is. He was taking the mickey a bit on the grid, so and holding the proceedings up. So.
Well, and it is clearly defined in driver's briefing. This is the practice start box. This is where you practice start. It's not MotoGP. You don't do it on the grid at the end of a qualifying session. So cars 12, 37 and 91. Peter Rickley is 12, 37 Fabian Motta, and 91 is Christian Schreiber. So the top two, and Fabian Motta, who's at the back of this, again under investigation for starting grid violations. And that'll be one of two things: either not being in the defined grid box, i.e. one wheel out of it somewhere, or two wheels out of it, being too far forward or too far to one side, or wheels not on the ground at the 5-minute board.
It's more likely to be out of the... Well, it could be anything, Martin. But,
it's likely to be one of those two. And, you know, first race of the season, they're not factory-run teams. You know, these are...
what people who've not driven one of these cars before, they fail to grasp is the drivers are sat very low down, very far back. So picking a reference point, you can't actually see the bonnet, never mind the grid box in front of you. So normally they'll pick a reference point on the wall, or they'll get one of the mechanics to make a marking. But because Monza's such a vast circuit, and the pit apron and wall is so far away, it's hard to pick out those reference points.
And with your hands device and your helmet and the door pillars and the wings on the seat, you can't look straight alongside you as you would do in a road car, so it is very hard. However, Plamen Kraljev pulling away from Igor Stefanovski, car number 14. This is nominally the battle for fourth. Kraljev with that drive-through penalty. He's passed the pits once. He won't necessarily have to serve it before the end of the race, I don't think. There weren't enough laps left, so he'll end up with a 30-second penalty. So effectively behind him, here is our race leaders, Peter Rickley, Christian Schreiber. Schreiber now not a second, 1.2, 1.3 behind.
Closed up well, hasn't it?
Yeah, he obviously thinks, right, third place, Peter Foulin, so far behind, he's not an issue. Christian Schreiber, if I don't pass my teammate now, when am I ever going to pass him? So let's dust the old man, get him out of the way, and I'll go and win this.
Well, this is hotting up nicely.
It's been a little while since we've seen our lead trio. Here they are, rushing out of the Lesmos down under the old banking here at Monza. and into the Variante Ascari. And Peter Rickley right down the middle of the road, defending hard. Here's the battle for fourth. Plamen Kralev in the Audi, being passed now by Igor Stefanovski. Kralev's got the inside line, and Daniel Nagy has thrown his lot in with Kralev. He's going to try and dive bomb Stefanovski. He's not close enough. Stefanovski goes a long way around the outside. Good move by Nagy as well. I like the way that Norbert Nagy races. He sees where the line is. He sees where the gaps are coming.
He could have gone with either one there, but fair play. He's been a great opportunistic racer, isn't he?
What he did was go with Kralev down the inside to close on Stefanovski, who was in the air on his own, then switch to the outside line when Kralev was forced onto the inside by Stefanovski and followed him around the outside through the opening door. That's a really, really great bit of Monza slipstreaming. Kralev's coming into the pits this time round, so he is out. And here is your battle for the lead. Lap 8 of 9, 2 more times round. Kralev serves his drive-through. And there may be penalties later as well. They better hurry up with those, because at the end of this, we're going to reset the grid for race 2, because it's affected by a reverse top 8 of race 1's finishing order, including penalties.
Well.
Yes, there's a bit of sorting out to do.
Yeah, it was a bit...
Yeah, there he is.
Schoolboy error,
yep.
Really, but good progress by both the Zenga Motorsport. Oh, is this formation flying from the Hondas, or are they actually trying?
Yep, no, Schreiber wants to get by. You would, wouldn't you? Come on, put yourself, well, put a young guy in your team behind you. Is he going to follow you all across the line first race of the season? No, because it sets the form for the rest of the year.
Stefanovski looks as though he's trying. He's looking for every bit of track and started monstering the curves there.
Yeah. I think that battle between Stefanovski and Nagy is going to be the one to follow to the line if this hasn't resolved itself, and it may not. Rickley's a wily old fox. Rickley is you know, with all those years of experience, and Christian Schreiber came into this last year, so he's a guy in his second season, you know, got a couple of really good results under his belt last year, bit of confidence, same team, same car, but he's got to dust the old guy. He has to, or he has to at least make every effort. If he gets held off, okay, that's one thing, but if he doesn't make the effort...
Yeah, the problem he'll have is Peter Rickley knows where to place the car.
Yeah, but then we've seen what Daniel Nagy can do against identical cars. Norbert Nagy, rather, you've got to use your brain.
Yeah, Norbert he just seems to be throwing caution to the wind, doesn't he? And it's working for him each time.
And Stefanovski has as well in that white car leading this little train as Zoltan Szabo, the rookie, closes up. Stefanovski was throwing the car over the curbs and almost into the scenery on the opening couple of laps. Last lap then, we still got these starting grid violations to be dealt with, and oh,
he's going the long way round.
Don't hit your teammate, don't hit your teammate. Peter Rickley basically selects reverse there to avoid contact between the two of them, because we do go straight into race 2, and Matt, that's a chance for him then, you know, to make sure the car is in perfect condition for that second race. But you knew that Schreiber was going to have a go.
He did, and I actually thought Rickley was going to hit him. You know, he had a weave and a duck and a dive, and he didn't want to let go, did he?
No.
But
and you could see Rickley defending on the inside, how loose his car was. It was like swinging to and fro under braking. That wasn't pretense. And look how much that little battle, that one battle under braking, has allowed Peter Foulin to close back up. That cost those two Hondas about a second, and Stefanovski goes off at the Roggia, but gains ground on Norbert Nagy.
Well, it doesn't lose ground as well.
Yeah, no, he gained ground there, didn't he? He had
but
Nagy
it's almost gaining
right
an
behind
advantage
him.
because of
yeah,
that.
Exactly so. So
that's incredibly frustrating as a driver, and from the one attacking behind. The driver in front, you force him into making a mistake, he gains ground on you, and you've got to do all your hard work again.
Yeah. Yes, when you go off over those sleeping policemen, you think they're plenty high enough. When he goes off in front of you and comes back further away, you think, no, they're not high enough. Where's the gravel traps? We'll bring back gravel traps. That's our hashtag for the weekend. Down into Ascari, and again, Stefanovski ramping it over the curbs. Christian Schreiber is, 5-second penalty added to the two Hondas and also to Fabian Motta. So that means our race winner will be last year's championship runner-up, who is going to cross the line in third place because he's only 2 seconds behind. Checkered flag will come out for Christian Schreiber. He thinks he's won it. Rickley thinks he's second. Peter Foulin thinks he's third. But with a 5-second penalty added to the two Rickley Motorsport Hondas. Look, the boys there have seen it on the screen. They know that's not their win. they will both be safe from Igor Stefanovski. Out of grid position, they were too far back, and they were on the white lines. I tell you what, we're lucky to have, in fact, Peter Rickley wasn't even in any way in the grid box. He had 2 wheels out to his left. So there's, unfortunately, as you said. And the problem is when you come to the dummy grid, that's fine, because there's a grid girl with a board there, there's your team there to guide you into position. When you've got to do it on the empty track yourself, clearly a lot harder. Your race winner then, after the steward's appeal, or the steward's decision, is Peter Foulin. So Peter Foulin claims his first win of the season. He was in his grid box, but look at his tyres as well. They were on the line.
I think his position back to front rather than side to side.
They were a long way back from the front
Now,
line.
some might say, oh yeah, but they were behind the line, so it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't matter. If you're out of position, you're out of position.
I'm afraid.
A rule is a rule.
You can't be a little bit pregnant. That's that is the deal there, isn't it? You know, it's a light's not, a light bulb isn't slightly on. It's either on or it isn't. And I mean that is harsh, but unfortunately that is one of the rules. So there you go. The 2 Hondas did what they needed to do in qualifying, did what they needed to do in the race. Christian Schreiber thought he had it tucked up nicely, did his teammate, and then in the end, the man who followed them back in 3rd place, he won't have known until probably the slowing down lap that the penalty had been applied to the Hondas and to Fabian Bottas' Seat, but Peter Foulin ends up winning the first race of the year.
You know, Martin, it's great for the championship to come to the classic circuits like Monza because, okay, it's not a massive grid, but it does, you know, the circuit layout does promote good racing. You know, the Monzas, the Spas, you know, it's the slipstreaming is available, overtaking is achievable. And even, as I say, with the small grid, we can have a great race in front of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that means that our top 8 are reversed. And so, you talk, I'm just writing before it disappears off the timing screen.
Number 8 on the grid, obviously, with the 2 Hondas in front. This could be Norbert Nage's opportunity to get some healthy points back. He was the man on the move in that first race, so he could be our tip for a really strong result in race 2.
Exactly right. Well, the race winner then, Peter Foulin from Christian Schreiber and Peter Rickley. Igor Stefanovski ending up in 4th ahead of Norbert Nage and Zoltan Szabo. Andreas Pfister 7th. 8th in the end on penalties was Mladen Lalosic. Fabian Bottas, 5-second penalty, dropped him down to 9th. And Plamen Kralev with that drive through in 10th. So 4 penalties, making a very germane effect on the race itself. So that will bring the first race to a conclusion. Second race gets off in 30 minutes time at 10 o'clock Central European time, another 9-lapper. So time to repair any damage, there was none, refuel the cars, retire them, drivers to have a quick drink. You can go and put the kettle on, be back with us at 10 Central European for race 2 here from Monza.
Něco zkoušeli na ty start, ale zvali na start, že zatím vteřin. Fakt to. A šlo to, jo. Ale no, to stejně určitě. Dobře? Ještě auto bude stejně. Jo? No, oni najeli třeba nějaký další kolo. Třeba 4 desetiny, ale jakoby to tempo bylo stejný. Ale na brzdách zatáčkách nemá. a asi budeme muset udělat dosky.